Wait, what? Stay with me. Let's go back to around 25 BC. Archimedes of Syracuse. Major big brain dude. He had this incredible idea. Here's how his buddy Plutarch reported it. He said Archimedes moved an entire warship using pulleys and his own strength. That is innovation. Not 2.0 or an upgrade or the next generation, but something that changes the way we think and work and live. The heralded breakthroughs have more often than not merely walked to the edge of innovation. The cloud and AI and low code. Complex problems can only be solved by solutions that don't cause more problems. So what would Archimedes do today? He'd build a pulley and call it robotic process automation. Make the tech learn the human, name the task, name the workplace. RPA allows companies to automate at the UI level, connecting disparate technologies. Granted, that's a really wonky sentence. All it means is this: you and your employees can now pull vastly more than your own weight.
But whatever work becomes, the ServiceNow platform will make it just flow. Whether it's finding new ways to help you serve your customers, orchestrating a safe return to the office.
Wait, an office? What's an office?
Or solving a workplace challenge that's yet to come. Wherever the new world of work takes your business, the world works with ServiceNow.
You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Here we are making history. Higher than we've ever been. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready, get ready. Welcome to the future.
Unexpected turns. It would be an exciting journey, even a little scary at times. And although it's difficult to predict what's around every corner, there's something else you understood. Transformation is essential for your business, your people, and your customers so you can stay agile, resilient, and relevant in an ever-shifting marketplace. At SAP, we understand that true transformation is a journey too. It goes beyond the edges and deep into the core of your business. But it's a journey you don't have to take alone. No matter where you're starting from and where you want to go, we're by your side to simplify planning and execution and integrate data, intelligent tech, with cutting-edge ERP that will accelerate outcomes on your terms and on your timelines. The road ahead is clear. The next turn truly transformative. It's your time to rise with SAP.
The speed of the internet. It's a digital world. What you might not have heard is that we can keep it safe, because at CrowdStrike, we stop breaches. So wherever you go, go with confidence. Anywhere. Welcome to Anywhere. CrowdStrike. We stop breaches.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the grand finale of StarBiz Summit 2021 themed Rebuilding the Nation's Economy in the Digital Reality of 2022. Whether you're on Jublia, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Gajannath and I will be your host for today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this on Jublia, just so you know, the platform allows you to expand your industry network and also personalize your journey. All this is thanks to its AI engagement hub. Let me explain. The first one, you can actually go to the Meet tab on the left hand side, and then you can see companies and people. Feel free to scroll through, and you will see a Meet button. By just doing this, you can actually build your connections. Secondly, you can also go to the Explore tab and visit our sponsors and partners virtual booth. Last but not least, we do have the Agenda tab. What's interesting is in this Agenda tab, you can customize your own agenda, whichever sessions that benefits you. How amazing is that? Now, I do understand that this is a virtual event, right? It's not a physical. I won't be able to see you physically. Nevertheless, we want to make sure that this is a two-way interaction. which means we want you to make sure that you're using the chat box and also the comment section. So if you actually want to give a round of applause, you can actually type in some W's in the chat box. So can I see some W's in the chat box? Because W's, they resemble a clap. So let's see some W's in the chat box. How about admin? Give me some W's, and let's see if the what do you call that? The viewers will also follow with some W's in the chat box. Okay, it will take some time, but yes, we want you to be interactive. I got to set the tone right because later on we actually have 2 presentations and 1 power panel session. And there you have it. There, I do see some W's coming in. Thank you so much. Well done. And second thing is, I'd like to ask you some questions because I want to make sure that the chat box is also going. Because later, my suggestion is later, it'll be good if you can ask some questions because we got a power pack lineup, and it'll be a waste if you do not ask any questions. So my question to you is, if you're not attended today morning session, I'd like to know what do you work as and in which industry. That I can see Serena, thank you for typing. Donald, thank you for typing. Let me know, Serena, Donald, what do you all work as and in which industry? Because by typing in the chat box, the committee team and also the moderators, the speakers, the panelists, they're able to understand their crowd even better, and they can further fine-tune their inputs, making this event way more beneficial. Marcia Chan, thank you so much for typing. What do you all work as? Do type in the comment section. I'm curious to know. Maybe I will start first. Obviously, I'm an MC. I'm also a stand-up comedian, so entertainment industry. Prior to this, I was actually an IT consultant. So yes, in the consulting world, obviously, dealt with a bit of SAP and actually mostly SAP and some Oracle projects. But this is more on the project management side. Yes, Chatya, thank you so much for typing. I'm looking at the chat box. Okay, I really appreciate all of your inputs. And yeah, you can also type in what do you wish to take away from this summit? What do you actually want to learn, or what are you looking forward to? Do type in the chat box so that the trainers, the speakers later will understand, and they can actually personalize their inputs to actually bring more benefits to you. I do see in the why the same message as this morning. Yes, because we got to assume that there are some new people here. So, Sunny, maybe you can just type in the chat box, what do you work as and in which industry? Yeah, because we got to be fair with those who are new in this session. This session will be totally different. Okay, you're here with the lucky draw. It's okay. We are all Malaysians. Who doesn't like prizes, right? Okay, Satu has mentioned trainer. I believe you attended this morning as well. So good to know. Okay, all of you are what? Lucky draw, lucky draw. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, keep the chat box going. I love it. Now, today's program is anchored by 4 Biz-Con breakout tracks. In fact, there are 2 parallel breakout tracks that are concurrently in the morning. And now you're watching another 2 that are running in parallel. If you're listening to me, you are currently watching the Future of Work and Tech for Good track. My colleague Myra is currently hosting the Digital Finance track on the other side. So I repeat, there are 2 tracks running in parallel. The first one is Future of Work and Tech for Good. The second one is Digital Finance. So just so you know, you can actually watch whichever that you want, whichever that brings the most benefit to you, or whichever you have more interest in. Feel free to customize your own agenda. Okay, now I'm looking at the chat box. I see F&B industry, manufacturing industry, and medical device. Nice. Okay, thank you so much for your inputs. I really appreciate that. Now, themed Rebuilding the Nation's Economy in the Digital Reality of 2022, the Summit program is exclusively engineered by the Star Media Group's events team for you to learn and discuss how to recalibrate your business transformation journey in the age of never normal. We highly encourage you to be part of the conversations as we discover ways to optimize digital technologies and disruptive innovations to win in 2022. Now, in commemoration of the Star Media Group's 50th anniversary, the group has ran a series of technology events under its Digital X Data umbrella. And the StarBiz Summit is the grand finale of the group's Digital X Data 2021 events. Star Media Group's Digital X Data 2021 kicked off with Road to Malaysia 5.0 series that was dedicated to enabling a digitally fueled Malaysian businesses to accelerate growth in the new Malaysia 5.0 digital economy, and also to drive innovative changes among the society in building a human-centered nation powered by disruptive technologies. The Star Business Summit is the avenue for businesses and organizations to learn and discuss about the industry outlook and market forecast of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, as I've shared earlier, today we have got 4 critical industry verticals, business areas, and organizational functions in breakout track formats. To realize the StarBiz Summit's vision, we are very honored and humbled with the participation of over 30 thought leading speakers, subject gurus, industry experts, business leaders from more than 10 countries. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about let's give them a huge round of applause? Let me see some W's in the chat box. And of course, I'd also like to take this opportunity to give a special shout out to all of our 19 sponsors and partners of the StarBiz Summit. Thank you all so much for coming on board with the Star Media Group to make StarBiz Summit a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm excited to share with you that we are running prize draw at this event. Mind you, this is the grand finale. So this is your last chance to actually win prizes. How to win prizes? Well, we have total 15 cool gadgets worth 4,000 ringgit in total we'll be giving away. However, this is the final round. This is the final chance. So if you want to know how, stay until the end of the session. Yes, as you can see on the screen, those are the prizes that you could potentially win. But that's not it, ladies and gentlemen, because we always like to add value. So, with compliments from Oxford Business Group, and in our appreciation for your participation at this summit, we are rewarding you with an exclusive complimentary access to the most up-to-date Philippines economy report worth 500 British pounds. The link to the access of the report will be emailed to you right after the event. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's see who are the 6 prize draw winners of the 2 breakout tracks earlier this morning. And as you can see, we got the Sony portable wireless speaker that goes to Sunny Tan and Tan Geng Shin. Congratulations to the both of you. We have got the Samsung wireless charger pad that goes to Chi Min and Russell Teo. And last but not least, we have the Sony True Wireless Earbuds. Goes to SW Ong and also Huzaifah. Congratulations to all these 6 winners. As I've mentioned, if not won, it's okay. Stay until the end of the session. I will actually explain to you all how you can still stand a chance to win any of these prizes. To all the winners, don't worry, the event crew will be contacting you separately after the event. So not to worry. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now let's have a look holistically at the future of work and tech for good Biz-Con breakout track. We'll be kicking off the program with an opening keynote by the International Labour Organization, followed by a presentation by our gold sponsor, Dell Technologies, who will be sharing with us how leaders approach today's hybrid workforce. We will then wrap up this session with a power panel discussion that will be moderated by our knowledge partner, Forrester. And joining the panel discussion, we have 3 distinguished panelists, one from Bluebird, one from PwC and 30% Club Malaysia, and last but not least, our silver sponsor, UiPath. So looking at the lineup, I hope you are just as excited as I am. And to learn more about the summit program and speaker profiles, do check out the agenda if you are on Jublia. If not, you can just type in the URL and you can actually check out the program and speakers profile. Last but not least, if you have any questions, again, do type in the chat box, because the panelists, the moderator, they will do their best to answer your questions in the chat box or the comment section. So be active, be interactive, feel free to ask whatever they want. Take this opportunity to ask whatever that you want. If you need any assistance from us, please chat with our events crew or email us at events@thestar.com.my. For technical assistance on Jublia, you can also email starbizsummit2021@jublia.com. In Jublia, remember to visit our sponsors, partners, virtual booth to find out about their latest product offerings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any further time, let's get started with our keynote. Our keynote presentation is titled Crisis Recovery and Digital Transformations, the Human-Centered Approach for Rebuilding the Economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this presentation highlights the challenges and opportunities of growing technology adoption in the workplace and also the importance of fostering a skilled digital workforce. Our keynote speaker has been serving International Labour Organization since 1995 in cities such as Geneva, Bangkok, Dhaka, and New Delhi. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Panuda Bunpala, Deputy Regional Director of Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific for International Labour Organization. Let's give her a huge round of applause.
Work. Whether you have it, you need it, or you depend on others to have it, work is central to your well-being. Work gives our lives purpose and dignity. Work gives us our humanity. Almost 500 million women and men need work. Millions more have work but live in poverty. And hundreds of millions lack the basic labor rights to give them a living that is healthy, safe, and secure. The International Labour Organization is the UN agency for the world of work. It was founded on the belief that social justice is essential to universal and lasting peace. The ILO promotes decent work for all through an agenda that aims to give people a fair stake in their working lives and in society. The ILO was created in 1919 as part of the Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I, to ensure social justice for people through work. It became a specialized agency of the newly formed United Nations after the Second World War, and today has a membership of 187 countries that continues to grow. The ILO received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1969 and today is recognized as the world's authority on the world of work. Its impact is seen at key moments in history. The work of the ILO affects almost every aspect of our lives. From regulations setting out safety and health standards, through to policies to end discrimination, violence, and harassment in the world of work, there exists international labor standards to protect us. Eradicating child labor and forced labor, ensuring equal pay for work of equal value, creating new and better jobs, strengthening social protection systems, helping women and men gain the skills they need to succeed at work, and upholding the rights of workers and employers, including through social dialogue. The ILO mandate is an integral part of all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and decent work itself is Goal 8 of the UN's 2030 Agenda. Headquartered in Geneva and with over 40 field offices around the globe, the ILO is unique amongst international organizations, where not only governments, but employers and workers as well have equal voices. They work together to create labor standards and policies that impact today's global economy. Headed by a Director General, the Secretariat conducts research and data analysis about the world of work, and supports the work of members and constituents. Each June, the organization meets for its annual International Labour Conference, where labor standards are discussed and adopted. Its Executive Council, the governing body, meets 3 times a year. In the field, the ILO advises governments and collaborates on projects at the country level to help put standards and policies into practice through training, education, and research. In 2019, the ILO adopted the Centenary Declaration for the Future of Work to respond to a world experiencing transformative change, driven by technological innovations, demographic shifts, climate change, and globalization. It calls for a human-centered approach to the future of work, a task made all the more urgent by the outbreak of COVID-19. The crisis has revealed a pre-existing pandemic of poverty and inequality, which must be tackled if the world is to build back better. The ILO Declaration for the Future of Work therefore sets out a roadmap for creating a safer, more inclusive and just world with decent work for all. Globalization, disruptive technologies, rising inequality, climate change, and a pandemic. The world of work is changing faster than ever before. The ILO brings over 100 years of knowledge, experience, and achievement as it contributes to peace and security, to sustainable economic growth, and the dignity of all women and men.
The ILO believes that the best way to achieve a peaceful and prosperous world is by promoting social justice and decent work for all. That's been our mandate for over 100 years, and it's all the more important today as we build forward better to ensure conditions of equity, freedom, security and dignity for all in the world of work.
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure and honor to be with you today. Let me extend my appreciation to the organizers, Star Media, for inviting me to speak at this session. My focus today will be on to shift the conversation a bit and look at the human angle of where we stand in this economic crisis by bringing in the future of work. The future of work discussions that we had in the past, before the COVID-19 pandemic, typically centers around issues of technology, automation, and emerging skills demands. Well, as with everything else, this conversation has been disrupted heavily by the impact of the COVID pandemic. Now, we talk more generally about restarting the economy and getting labor markets back on track. Nevertheless, the looming challenges triggered by the future of work remain prominent and simply are not going away. And in some respects, the COVID-19 crisis has only accelerated the pace of these changes. So let's look at a little bit on the current labor market situation. To frame the future of work discussion, it is important to know where we stand in terms of the economic crisis and the impact we have seen on jobs in the Asia-Pacific region. The latest ILO estimates indicate that in 2020, working hours in Asia-Pacific declined by 8.2% compared to the end of 2019. This is equal to 145 million full-time jobs. And while we have seen some improvement this year, the recovery has been hindered by the surge in COVID cases and the slow rollout of vaccination programs in many countries. But we all know that these are not just statistics. There are multitudes of devastating human stories behind these numbers, but also stories of resilience. The crisis has disrupted global supply chains and destroyed millions of businesses. The hardest hit have been the micro, small, and medium enterprises. The majority of them operate informally and did not have the financing to survive this crisis. Similarly, the pandemic has exposed the vulnerability of informal workers. Many have not had the option to work from home and have had to compromise their safety and health in order to continue to earn a living. Let us not forget that women and young people have been disproportionately affected. They are overrepresented in many of the most at-risk industries, such as tourism and hospitality. So, this brings me to the future of work. I believe that our next major future of work challenge will be to address increasingly inequality, which has been intensified by the COVID-19 crisis. High-skilled workers with secure jobs have been able to utilize the latest technologies to work safely from home without any impact on their wages and salaries. Conversely, too many low-skilled workers have not had the same option and have endured considerable losses in working hours and earnings. These dynamics highlight one key duality of our labor markets. We have seen millions of businesses and workers who were least ready for the future of work even before the crisis being pushed further behind. Without some strong government interventions, we will face what almost certainly will be an uneven recovery that could have longer-term effects on the future of work and the prosperity of our societies. And of course, rising inequality only complicates the future of work megatrends that we were all concerned before the COVID pandemic. Issues like technological change, demographic transitions, changing patterns of trade, and environmental sustainability. None of these trends have gone away, and we must now consider to what degree the COVID-19 has further accelerated some of these future of work drivers. In terms of technology, we have a clear connection with the growth of new digital applications to support contact tracing and in fighting the pandemic. New communication technologies have been critical to allow safe teleworking from home and from distant locations, thus driving potentially long-lasting changes in our working environments. While remote work can result in improved productivity and work-life flexibility, it can also negatively blur the boundaries between the working hours and personal life. Digital technologies have also facilitated a shift of economic activities to online platforms and spurred demand for certain occupations and skills. However, the increase in platform work has consequences on the way we govern our labor markets. While many have touted the great potential that digitalization has to accelerate recovery, we need to remember that what is essential is a human-in-command approach to technological development. Only then can we ensure that the recovery is resilient and inclusive of all. Regarding the future of work and demographics, we have all sadly witnessed the vulnerability of older persons. The crisis has only solidified the call for the adoption of universal social protection to make sure that elderly are well protected and have adequate health and income support. On the other hand, the future of work for too many young women and men has become even more precarious in light of the ways the crisis has adversely impacted their education, training, and career prospects. In addition, the pandemic has highlighted the complexity and fragility of the global trading system. It has caused serious constraints in the global supply chains, and there are indeed many uncertainties about what trade will look like in the future. This will have important consequences for the millions of businesses and workers in trading sectors like export manufacturing. Finally, the environmental remains at the forefront of the future of work challenges. Climate change and the urgency of promoting a just transition, including through the promotion of renewable energy and green jobs, are still very much with us. Let's look at the policy framework for inclusive recovery. How do we deal with all of these complex and daunting challenges? How do we implement sustainable solutions that will promote an inclusive and resilient recovery and human-centered future of work. Not easily, that's for certain. But we do have a solid roadmap at the global level. The ILO Centenary Declaration for the Future of Work was adopted at the 2019 International Labour Conference. The Centenary Declaration was not designed with a health pandemic in mind, but it nonetheless offers the building blocks on which to orient a human-centered recovery that can leave economies, businesses, and workers on a stronger footing to face whatever the future of work may bring. To move forward and create a just, sustainable future, we need to take a human-centered approach to the future of work. That means creating good jobs and providing social protection for people adversely impacted by these transformations. It requires strengthening social dialogue and the institutions of the labor market so that wages are fair, working conditions are decent, and safety and health and fundamental labor rights are ensured. It entails fostering a supportive environment for sustainable enterprises, economic growth, and decent work for all. In order to enhance the resilience of businesses and workers in the era of uncertainties, it is critical to invest in upgrading the skills of our workforce. There will be increased expectations for individuals to pave their own and navigate through the uncertain world of work. It is important to rethink how training system can support these individuals to engage in reskilling and upskilling, to develop their resilience to labor market disruptions. Now, let's look at the inclusive recovery and the future of work in Malaysia. While the Centenary Declaration is a global framework, its principles provide concrete direction and guidance for countries to tackle their own specific challenges related to the future of work. In Malaysia, the recently adopted 12 Malaysian Plan underscores many of these same challenges, along with a national vision for an inclusive and sustainable recovery. It recognizes the complexities of realizing Industry 4.0, supporting an aging society, moving up the value chain in the global production, and reducing widespread inequalities. In reading the 12 Malaysia Plan, so many important policy enablers stand out to me. Policies that, if implemented successfully, will position Malaysia to not only recover from the crisis, but also be well prepared to thrive despite the uncertainties related to the future of work. In particular, the plan prioritizes developing future-ready talent and accelerating technology adoption. It rightly calls for fostering a skilled workforce through investments and reforms in education and training. Such efforts should help Malaysia's workers to seize emerging job opportunities while supporting businesses to boost their future competitiveness. Specifically, the plan emphasizes the improvement of the technical vocational education and training as a game changer to produce future-ready talents. For this, there are three key issues to be addressed. First, TVET will be required to be more equal and inclusive, not only in terms of access, but also the selection of training fields and occupations. Second, better anticipation of future skill needs will make TVET more relevant. Third, it is important to strengthen the leadership of business and industry in Tibet. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly difficult to predict where the future will take us and what the jobs of the future will be like in our region. However, we do know that significant changes in our labor markets and workplaces are imminent. We also know that the future is what we make it and will be shaped by actions that we take now. The challenges ahead are enormous, but so too are the opportunities. To succeed, governments, businesses, and workers need to adjust, be innovative, and work collectively to navigate these transformations. The International Labour Organization is committed to work with the government, employers and workers organizations, and all key stakeholders to help Malaysia prosper in the post-COVID period and beyond. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Panuda, for that wonderful sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking about rebuilding the economy, I strongly believe that people are assets. Now, that was a keynote presentation. Next up, we have a presentation titled How Leaders Approach Today's Hybrid Workforce. This session is brought to you by our gold sponsor, Dell Technologies. If you have any questions for our speaker, please drop them in the chat box or in the comment section, because this is a 30-minute session where the first 20 minutes will be a presentation and the last 10 minutes will be a Q&A session. So we'll be picking the questions from the comments and the chat box section. So feel free to type in. In this particular presentation, we will understand how the hybrid workforce policies, expectations, and the new way of working will be the new milestone on effective managers and virtual teams, which results in attracting and retaining talents. Our speaker currently supports Dell Malaysia's commercial business. He is responsible for driving growth and product for public and enterprise customers through workforce transformation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Christopher Chung, Senior Product Manager of Dell Technologies.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. My name is Christopher and I'm with Dell Technologies. Now, I remember a few years ago when my colleagues or my friends tells me that they work from home. I was like, man, that's like my dream job. Are you hiring? Back then, I have this idea of how work from home looks like. That. But somehow, rewind back 12 months ago, all of us got our dream job, which is work from home. I got mine too. But that imagination doesn't look like that in reality. In reality, it looks more like this, where my kid keep on coming in day and out and try to get attention. Papa, can you do this? Papa, can you do that? And that picture shows you very clearly that she wants me to play, soft toy with her, unicorn. That has been a work from home life for everybody. So work from home previously, when I imagined it was just a luxury, to today, everybody got it. So congratulations, you got your luxury dream job right now, working from home. But then again, rewind back just a few months ago, a lot of us are asking, is working from home continuing, or are we going back on site in our office? Or is it hybrid, where you have half of you will be in the office, half of you will be at home? Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we don't have to debate whether is it going to be, because it is going to be happening, or is actually happening right now. To tell the truth, half of my company is working from home. I'm still working from home, but some of my friends are working in the office already. For example, the operations. Take a look at this. This is how you can be, right? Whether you are at home or a hybrid. But let me share with you, we are right now focusing on very, very most important thing in our company. It's the safety and also the experience of how our employees work. So it's at home, back to site, or hybrid. So no matter where you are, the most important thing is we continue to be productive. Now, there's a research saying that the modernization is no longer an option. It is something that you need to modernize your system, to modernize your company, so that you can continue to be flexible, resilient, and to continue to perform. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done all kinds of research, and we have asked a lot of experts on how can we continue to have, as leaders, to sustain hybrid working environment. It's not about a debate whether hybrid is staying or not staying, but it's how to make it sustainable. So we asked a lot of experts, and here we go. In Dell Technologies, for example, we have, since 2009, we have a program called Connected Workspace. And this has been rolled out for employees to choose, after talking to their managers, to have an option to work from home. Since 2009, we have been focusing on this. But because of the pandemic, yes, exponential to a lot of people applying for that program. Till today, we have more than 60%, which is more than majority, has already option for that. For me, I have option for that, and that's why I no longer have a cubicle in my office. My cubicle is full-time at home on my dining table. So with that, we always focus on two things, which is productivity and safety of our employees. So now the next thing is that how can we, as leaders, continue to have a sustainable hybrid working environment? And we asked a lot of experts, and here we go. There are three key imperatives to have a hybrid working environment, a very sustainable and successful one. So leaders, hear this out. The first thing is leadership. Leadership is like the brain of every company. You give the direction, you give the decision making, and of course, you set forth on where to go and how to go. Next thing is structure. How does the structure comes in? Structures are all the process, the policies that comes in to enable this hybrid working environment so that people can continue to be at their optimum productivity. And next thing, last but not least, is of course, culture. Culture is like the soul. It's like, imagine if you are the brain, of the leaders is the brain, and the body is the structure, right? Then the soul is the one that brings, the culture is like the soul that brings the person alive. So with these three imperatives, we look into further on how to enable all this hybrid working environment. Let's take a look at the first one, leadership. Well, as leaders, we need to, of course, make decisions. Why? Because all our employees look up to the leaders on how can we continue to be productive, and we are working at home, working remote, no matter where you are, right? So as the leaders, you have to give a very clear direction. You have to give a very interesting way of coming out process. But one thing I can share with you is leaders lead with empathy, lead with intent. You got to have the empathy. No longer much about KPI, but it's about the empathy and intent. Traditionally, all of us are being trained to work from what, 9 to 6, 5 days a week, right? And the most important thing is we work on site, face to face. Let's call it FaceTime. Our FaceTime is so like from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? You see all your employees sitting there with a busy table, with cluttered table. You know that, a very hardworking guy. You goes there, okay, very hardworking guy. So you know that they are working. But today with hybrid, leaders, you have to change your mindset. You got to adapt to the change that you no longer see these things, clutter tables and everything, because all your employees are at home. You can't see them. So also another thing is you have to be very empathy to understand that the employees who are working from home, the gray line between work and chores and their kids is now erased. It's like they're working halfway and the kid comes, Papa, can you help me with this homework? So you have to be quite, in an empathy way of thinking about all this. And also another thing is that for those of you who work from home and you do not have kids or siblings, guess what? Some of you may work very high productive when in the morning. Some of you may be very productive when you are at night. So it depends on where you are. So that's why productivity is also something that leaders need to understand when. So let's move on to the next thing, right? The first one, right? Think big. Now think big, but start small. In a way that as leaders, don't set a very far-sighted type of goals where you say, okay, let's go and hit the KPI by end of the year by doing this. Now, in hybrid working environment, what we need to do is set small goals. Listen to your employees. Understand your employees. What struggles are they facing? What challenges are they facing? Help them out. Be a leader that is empathy. By listening, you can find out more to help out with their resolution. And also, so a lot of solutions will come out. Another thing about this is that when you have this empathy, when you become a good listener, the employees will build trust with you. And that's how, with regular communication, instead of once a week, once a quarter review, you can have like a bi-weekly chat with your employee. How's things going on? Are you handling well with your kids? Are you handling well with this? And then find a right solutions for them. Now, you might be very interesting to find out that the husband or the father needs to pick up the kid every day at 12:30 from school. So don't set a meeting during 12 o'clock because that is going to give him a lot of pressure. So be very empathy in listening and finding out all this. Next thing is that focus on output, not the input. What this means is that it's no longer like how we traditionally work, where you ask them to work fast, extra hours, OT, and so on and so forth. And you know that from 9 to 6 they work, right? In hybrid, it's totally a different thing. Why? Because they could work from 6 a.m. onwards. You never know. And they could work at 9 p.m. You never know because it's flexible. So focus on the output, not how they work or when they work. Focus on the productivity and the output. Discuss with them when they feel more comfortable giving you those solutions and those productive. Finally, learn from startup. Now, a lot of experts that we have spoken to mentioned that let's learn from startup. Now, when you start a new company, for example, you are the boss, you start a company. Let's say it's a cupcake shop, right? And guess what? You hire a few bakers, and then 3 or 4 of you, you all work very closely, and then you come up with a business, you come out, and then you grow a business. A startup company, why does this happen is that the lesson learned here is that the boss and the team is narrower. That means you don't build a hierarchy that is tall. It's flatter hierarchy, meaning you, as a leader, you have to go down to the ground and then work with your team. Now, I personally have this because my boss comes down to the ground and understand what I'm doing, what I'm suffering, what are my challenges. And she will then help me clear these challenges. Now, she can go to the extent of calling me on a one-on-one and say, Chris, I know you're going through some tough time right now. Let's pray together. Now, that is how a manager like her goes to that extent to pray together through a phone. And we did that. So that's how support needs to come in, and that's empathy. So startup, this is what we can learn from. Think big, and then focus on output and learn from the startup. Let's go to imperative number 2, which is structure, which is the body. Now, when it comes to structure, is how the whole process works. Understand your employees. Meaning is that some employees will work far more productive when they're on site. Some employees will work far more productive when they're at home. All work and all job is different. Being an MC is different, right? Being an engineer is different. You can't have one structure for all. There's no one size fits all. So understand your employees, understand what are they doing, how the roles are being done, and HR, head of departments come together and come up with a structure that supports the hybrid working environment. This is very, very important to understand. Not just giving a device, here you go, a laptop, now go back and work. That is just the tip of the iceberg. Right now, we have to go further down to how to make it sustainable on hybrid. Next thing is give workers a platform to weigh in. I remember last year when most of us are locked down and we're all working from home, a lot of fresh grads are also still being hired. They started their first day at work at their house. They don't even have to go to office. The laptop is being sent to them in their house along with their badge and everything else that they need. They don't even seen their colleagues before. They don't even know what does colleague means, because it's like they graduate from school, they have classmates, but when they come to office, they don't even have an office to go to. So you have to understand that these are the Gen Z who started working from home, and until now, they are still at home. So some of them may be right now going back to office for the first time, which is good for them. And they will start to have that experience FaceTime and experience real life of working. So some of you are right now nodding your head, yeah, I just changed job last year. And yes, I have not gone to my office yet. So you know what I'm talking about, those of you. So what happened is that head of department, HR, needs to bring these people in to understand and get new ideas on how to work from home. At the same time, those who are from the earlier generation who works from home, I know you suffered a bit by how to join Zoom, how to join Microsoft Teams, which button to click, how to change my virtual background, and how to do a lot of things. Yeah, all of us have different learning curve, and we need to learn together. So a structure needs to come out to help both generation, the young and the elders, on how we can actually do this hybrid working environment together. Next is, of course, for those of you who have hybrid working environment, you no longer need to spend on certain things. For example, your real estate. Some of you may have amenities, like for example, car allowance, travel allowance, those you no longer pay. I would say that this is something that you can rechannel the budget to do something else to enable and to sustain this hybrid working. For example, you can subsidize on the broadband. You can also increase, for example, chiropractor, because last time you only can claim sickness from clinics and panels, but right now you're sitting in your home chair instead of office chair. Your home chairs are like your dining tables, dining chair where you can't sit for long. So once you sit more than 9 hours, you have back aches, and you definitely need different type of chiropractor. Different type of service like chiro to reset your bones and things like that. So come out a new structure for CMB so that you can support all these people who are working from home. And of course, there are a lot of other things. Well-being that comes in. We may have pets, grooming pets can claim things. So these are things that you can consider, all right, and make sure that you channel the budget to support this hybrid working environment. So if you have any other questions or any question at all, feel free to put into the Q&A, where later I will take up the questions and we will discuss more later on. Okay. Finally, let's come to imperative number 3, culture. Now, if leadership is the brain, structure is the body, culture is the soul. So, A human without soul is basically just a zombie. A company without soul or culture is also like an empty shell. So what do you have here? The first thing is make learning and an engagement one. All leaders need to be trained on how to become a remote leader, because all of us are being trained to become on-site leaders. But then again, don't just throw another calendar invite to the leaders to attend another training. To them, it's just like, man, another Zoom call or another Teams call. Yeah, don't do that. Come up with an interesting way or creative way of sharing with them the importance of this type of trainings. How managers continue to learn so that they can become a better leader for hybrid, to support the hybrid as well. So understand from the young generation and also the elders, come up with structure of a training where you can actually bring them out to certain place where you can have a more productive training, a creative training. I believe right now all of us are open up. Most of the hotels are also open up already, but with SOP and with limited number of packs, you can always organize trainings offsite and things like that to support all this on how to manage offsite people and hybrid. So a manager may have half the team in the office and half is still in the house, right? Now, what I'm trying to say is that culture is not just about breaking your team into team A and team B, and then team A go to work, team B stay at home. Next week, team A go to work, team A stay at home. It's not about just creating this. It's more to creating a structure and a culture where people support each other. Next thing is leveling the playing field. What does this mean? Now, since just now I mentioned about team A and team B, everybody will just say that I prefer to be in the office so that my boss can see me in my cluttered table, so that I look busy, I look more hardworking. Whereas if I'm at home, nobody sees me. My boss don't know whether I'm working or not. And then when it comes to promotion, of course, the one in the office will get a higher promotion, right? And then I'm at home, nobody see me. Okay, leaders, you have to change this. This mindset needs to put it at the side. You have to come up with a new way of structuring of how to give KPIs and how to do performance review with your employees. New ways of reviewing their productivity and also their performance needs to come in place so that you can understand some people working from home may be more productive than working in the office. Remember this. So come up with this structure so that it can help you out as well. And last but not least, plan a budget for effective team. So when it comes to this, it's like create opportunities for the Gen Z and also the earlier generation, the X, the baby boomers, or even the Gen Y, to work together to come up with a process where you create a culture in the intention of having a good empathy and intent for the whole entire company. At the end of the day, is for everybody to be optimizing their productivity, optimizing their results so that the company continue to grow. Last time, I would say 12 months ago, all of us were just focusing on business continuity. That means we just want to do everything just to continue with the business. And all of us just focus on getting the job done. But today, we are more stable now, and we have entered into the era of hybrid. Things are moving away from, we're no longer pivoting on just getting business continuity, but we're now going back to how to grow our business like how we used to grow the business when we're on site. So what it means is that right now, everybody is focusing on culture. That is why these two words become very strongly used, mental health. Everybody is talking about mental health today, right? People are getting more awareness about mental health. People has more awareness about their well-being. Are they well taken care of, and so on and so forth. So the culture needs to come in place where all of us needs to come up with a budget where we can actually support all this well-being and support each other in terms of body and soul and the brain. So with this, leadership, structure, and culture is what we and the experts have mentioned and come up with a white paper about this as well on how to support hybrid workforce environment. So thank you very much for your time in this very quick overview insights of how to support hybrid. So please scan this code, and there's a survey, a very simple few question survey. Fill it in And then you stand a chance to win a 20 ringgit Grab voucher from us on Dell Technologies, and do enjoy the voucher. I'll be going down to the next screen to look at all the questions, and we shall take a very quick break while I go through the questions, and we'll be back with Gajan. Thank you very much. I'll see you back.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, what a presentation. How about let's give Christopher another round of applause. Let me see the W's in the chat box. I loved it, Christopher, that you're immediately presenting on hybrid, because to be honest, there are a lot of people in the corporate world out there who are very polarizing.
Yeah.
Some of them they want to do everything virtually.
Uh-huh.
Some of them they're the old school type. No, I want to do everything face to face.
Yes.
So my question to you is, how do you tackle these people who are like very polarizing and not balanced thinkers?
Well, it all depends, right? Because some organizations are looking into, hey, for the past 12 months we have been working all from home, and to all these bosses who used to have a very traditional way of saying, I must see you in order to confirm that you're working.
Yeah.
Those bosses realize that, hey, my job still runs, my business still runs,
Yep.
but none of that is in the office.
Mm-mm.
And to these people, these leaders, they say, I save a lot of money.
Mm-mm.
So they say, less option for all virtual. Well, of course, it all depends as well, because if you're running a factory, you can't run a factory and a machine from virtual. I mean,
Yeah.
we have not reached to that technology, right?
Yeah.
So you still need people to go there, turn on the gears, turn on the buttons, press button.
Yeah.
So that's why all these leaders are already started to see that hybrid is the way. That means those who needs to be manning the machine needs to go back. Those like finance and all those, maybe one goes back once or twice a month just to sign check and prepare checks.
Yeah.
And other than that, stay at home. So I believe all leaders today are already looking into this, and they also aware that some jobs can be done virtually. Yeah. So that's where hybrid is here to stay.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I actually echo what Christopher has just said. In fact, like during the pandemic, I was asking myself the same question: what's next for the future? And I think it was hybrid, because if you think about it, if you stay at home, yes, you what's it, pandemic or not, it doesn't disrupt you, but you lose that social skills of meeting people, and that is a soft skill that you need to have in the corporate world. And if you do everything on site, then if another pandemic happens, which will happen, but we don't know when. If you look at history, and then you don't know how to work from home. So I guess hybrid is like the nice, balanced way to actually move forward.
Correct.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at some of the questions that we have here. All right, the first one we have is from Adam. With lesser face time, leaders may feel the need to micromanage. How does this risk the culture of distrust? What can leaders do to build trust in a hybrid work environment?
Well, to be honest, a lot of my colleagues and friends, colleagues means those who are in my office, and friends who are not from my office, were sharing with me on Facebook and WhatsApp saying, "Oh, my boss, I've been reporting to him for the past 5 to 10 years, 9 a.m. never text me. But during the pandemic, every day 9 a.m. text me." I say, "What do you text?" He said, "Good morning." That's all, 2 words. Then I say, what do you reply? I reply, "Good morning." Oh. Actually, that is not a very honest good morning.
Yeah.
That is just to see whether are you awake and are you at work.
Correct. Yeah.
So what happened is that leaders felt that, I don't see you in the office. Like last time I see you in the office, morning, then you sit there, the boss feels safe that you're working.
Yeah.
But because we are all locked at home last time, locked down, so bosses tend to feel like, are you at work? Are you started working? So this drives them to do that, text you good morning.
Yeah.
Another thing is they started to become policemen. Bosses become policemen in the way that they start looking at your Microsoft Teams, you have these traffic lights.
Yeah.
Okay, when he sees that you're green, oh good, gadget is working.
Yeah.
You're online. Right?
Yeah.
When he sees red, good, you're busy. But he sees yellow, he take a second look. Because in Microsoft Teams, it says away, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But away for how long?
Correct. Yes.
It has a how long there. So he said away 5 minutes, maybe go for toilet breaks. Okay. Then he check again, away for half an hour. What does he do? Text you. Hey, are you there? So this has become suddenly turned into an indirect micromanaging. Without realizing, the bosses meant good. But to the employees, it became pressure. It became a bad hit in a way that is micromanaging.
Yeah.
So a lack of face time does lead into micromanaging. So what you need to do to moving forward in the hybrid is to build trust. Like I mentioned just now, it's no longer where or when you work. It's at the end of the day, your productivity output. So long that I can, let's say I'm your superior, say, "Hey, Jane, how's everything?" So the deadline of this is like, by this Friday at 6 o'clock. Can you make it? If you say, "No, boss, 6 o'clock, I need to pick up my kid from the hockey practice." Can I send to you at 8 o'clock? Okay, fine. So it's more bargaining right now. It's
Correct.
more to,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's bargaining, trust, and all the small talks.
Yeah.
So just like you mentioned about social.
Yeah.
Yes, hybrid may reduce social face-to-face, but it does increase social through virtual
Correct.
and talk and verbal.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to this. So for those leaders who are listening right now, if let's say you have team members, try to have small talks with your team once a week, once every 2 weeks, and understand what are challenges and see how you can build trust. Be empathy and be intent to ensure productivity is there, not to just make sure that you work.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because like I think leaders now they got to be human and not be a robot, because at the end of the day, people connect to people. Because like last time I only worked for one company, and the reason why I stayed is because my bosses were humans. They weren't like, if you get what I mean. Some people, they write scripts like the good morning, right? Sometimes at the pantry they say, "How are you?" for the sake of just asking how are you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely good, and I think this is an area to look into, because to be honest, doing a lot of virtual events also, I see some people, they just do for the sake of doing. Okay, company has to do engagement session, but some people are doing it because they really want to engage their team to make sure that the bond is closer. So yeah, definitely makes sense. Thanks a lot, Christopher, for that.
And to summarize what you just mentioned, I always tell my leaders, I always tell my friends and my colleagues, to be a leader, learn how to speak not from the brain, but from your heart. Because if every words come from your heart, the listener will feel it.
Yeah.
That's how empathy comes in.
Correct.
And that's what you mentioned. No longer script. It's all from your heart.
Yeah, definitely correct. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the second question. With remote or hybrid, employees face all kinds of challenges juggling between chores, kids, and work expectations. How can leaders help in managing this?
Well, I honestly have a 9-year-old kid. As I show you my pictures now, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
She will just come to me with storybooks. She will come with me with all a soft toy, asking me to play Barbie dolls and stuff like that, right? And I'm still having my conference call, right? So the good thing about it is that she sees me more.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the good thing about it. So be appreciative that you spend more time with your kids and your family right now. Of course, it become a gray line right now because there's no longer home and professional. So we as parents have to be very empathy with our kids.
Yeah.
And as leaders, you can also be very empathy that your team member have a family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
So our colleague used to be you and me, colleagues.
Yeah.
But today with hybrid, the colleagues are the wife, the kids, the mother-in-law, the father-in-law. Those are the colleagues.
True. Yeah.
Right. So sometimes you may be having a conference call halfway and the father-in-law walk past, right? So it becomes new colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is okay for those of you who work from home, and it is okay if your kid, while you're having conference call, your kid comes by and say, "Papa, I'm hungry." It's okay.
Yeah.
Because they are your colleagues now.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that don't get tense up saying shh, because when you do that, your kid who doesn't understand will feel that they get rejected.
Correct.
And psychologically, they will be impacted as well.
True. Yeah.
So what I normally do is when my daughter comes and sees me and I'm on conference call, she will still come and stand beside me.
Yeah.
And I don't shoo her away.
Correct. Yeah.
And all my colleagues and my boss say, "Oh, is that your daughter?" I say, "Yeah, that's my daughter." So it's also good in a way that suddenly you release the tension in the meeting for a while.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And they will say, "Hey, it looks like you." "Yeah, it looks like me. It's my daughter." Hello. So sometimes that's how it works. And the pro of this is that I do product demo every day to all my customers. I open up laptops and stuff like that. You know what? My daughter is actually listening to all my presentation. Today she can present.
Yeah.
There was one day after my presentation, and she said that, "Papa, you forgot 2 points." I was like, "Wow, 2 points. You forgot to talk about the battery lifespan, and you forgot to talk about the LED that auto lights up." I was like, wow.
Oh, she can be a career counselor.
Yeah, she actually knows how to open a laptop now by looking at me this whole year. So that's the pro of it. So guys, of course, everything has a pro and con, just like a coin has two sides.
Yeah.
Focus on the pros, and you feel better. So to answer this question, I think as leaders, be very empathy, and as people who work at home, be very empathy with yourself as well. Don't just be empathy with others, but be empathy to yourself. You all start from us.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I think that was a really solid answer. Just like to summarize, I think you mentioned appreciative. Like I think since the pandemic, more people have practiced gratitude. Like your family members, they may be interacting your meeting, but hey, you have a family at home, and you have a house. So that's one.
You're not working in the library, okay? You're working at home, okay?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you brought up a very good point, because I've yet to hear any corporate people say that when your kid is there, just let them be there, because that's what humans do, right? If you say shoo, then you're being a robot. So who do you want to be? You want to be the human or you want to be the robot? So yeah, that's a very good point. Thanks a lot, Christopher.
You're welcome.
And let's have a look at the third question. How should the leaders be able to share company culture to new staff who is now working from home? Culture are pretty people and on-site. This is by Pek Hoon Bae.
Oh, thank you for the question, I would say. And it goes back to how you want to build the culture, of how you want to build the whole entire story of the soul of the company, right? So over here it says that culture are pretty much of people and on-site. Culture is very much about people, I agree. On-site, I would say it depends on how you define it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can still send, like for example, team building used to be on-site where you go to hotel or go to the beach and then you play some telematch and things like that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But today team building is very different. I can send you a fruit basket and all of us have a call and then all of us eat fruits together.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you define culture, how you define on-site and off-site. The most important thing is that you have a good time and you listen with empathy, and then you build a culture of a strong culture where everybody focus on productivity and empathy, I would say. Right? So it all depends on the leader's mindset change, and then you bring down. If the leaders doesn't change, the employees don't change, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the reasons I think why we see on-site here is because on-site means tangible, right? But when we see people, actually that's where the true culture is, and it's intangible. So it's hard for people to extract, but that's where the culture is. By just talking to an employee of a company, you can more or less see what kind of leadership the company has. Correct. So yeah, at the end of the day, virtual or on-site, at the end of the day, it lies within the people, very much like what you said.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we still have a little bit more time, so we're going to have one more last question. All right. Final question. How do you build a team? How do you pronounce this? Camaraderie. Okay. Camaraderie. I apologize. I've been like emceeing since morning. Since we can hardly meet our team members, since everyone is working from home now, yee.
All right, thank you very much, Yi, for that question. Camaraderie is all about having fun, right? So earlier I mentioned about we don't have to send expensive gift to our friends.
Yeah.
Right. Like imagine later, give me an address, I'll just send you a cup of Starbucks. And then let's have a call where all the team members dial in at 2 o'clock. And we don't talk about work, we just talk about life. We just talk about what have you been achieving, did you gain weight? It's like my friends love to cook. Suddenly he found that he is a good cook.
Yeah.
Learning how to grill salmon from YouTube and things like that from during the lockdown.
Yeah.
So you might find your hidden talents. So share that in the call. Share that in the call. People have a good laugh. People understand that. What you say, we all talk as human now.
Yeah, correct.
So even though it's virtual, but we can still feel each other from the sharing. And of course, camaraderie is all about having fun. So long you don't talk about work, you talk about a bit of personal things, that you really build the bonding. And once you build the bonding, I would say you become closer. Because honestly speaking, when you go for the previous traditional way of team building, you just go to the hotel, you eat, you group, you play tele matches, you gain scores, the winner take away the prize, and all of us leave.
Yeah.
We don't really sit down and talk about you cook or I cook, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So take a look at that. I feel that right now with virtual team building, we get closer. That's what I felt. And when we meet face to face, we felt that we are even bonding better. So leaders needs to be very creative. You don't have to send expensive things over.
Yeah.
Send a basket with some vegetables. The other day I received a basket with vegetables, carrot, tomatoes, everything. And with a personal note, very important. It was
nice.
a personal note saying, Chris, thank you so much for doing this, da 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 da. It was a personal note. And I called my other colleagues, do you receive? They said, yeah, I received too. And it's a personal note. My note and his note is different.
Okay.
So that means the boss took time to write notes.
Correct.
Wow. That is, to me, that values more than taking me to a 5-star hotel for a dinner, seriously.
Correct, because it's very authentic. That's
and
good to know.
I know that my boss cares. So that's how leaders needs. I felt good. You feel good after listening as well.
Yeah.
So that is what we call camaraderie.
Yeah. And to wrap this up, would you also say that by actually engaging with your team members and all that, it also help to reduce the turnover rate employee because people are more connected, and I read somewhere that one of the reasons why people leave companies is also the boss. And that's true because people get connected to people. So when the bosses are nice, they know your hobbies, they care for you and all that. It also improves the company like retention rate.
Correct. And not only improves the retention rate because they like to share on their Facebook on all these good stories, they actually attract more talent pool into the company as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yes, you will increase retention rate and stuff like that, and also attract more people. So like today, my sharing, I believe a lot of people are like, wow, Chris, what company is that? Okay, I want to join you as well. So that's what sharing is all about. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't see me putting a video with my fruit basket and dance on TikTok, right? So, but I do share on my Facebook and Insta. Yeah. So these are the things that people do.
Thanks a lot, Christopher. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for all of y'all who have typed all your questions. Unfortunately, we have actually at the end of this session, so we won't be taking any more questions. There you can see that I want to work Dell under your boss. There you go. I want him to be my leader boss. There you see what he just said is now this is the result exactly. This is echoing whatever you just said, only in a different form. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about let's give Christopher a huge round of applause. Let me see some W's in the chat box. That's the new virtual clap. So W is something I learned last year as well.
Where did you learn the W from?
This is actually from I think from an Australian stand-up comedian because we were trying to do virtual stand-up comedy, and they said, "How do we get them to round of applause?" Then he said, "Oh, W's look like that." So And also, I learned another thing. When you type W's, when you type in the keyboard, you're investing more energy compared to just spamming the emoji.
I see.
So
Okay.
you get more people to type in the chat box, more interactive.
Just like that.
Yeah, W's, yeah.
All right, that's so cool.
And it looks nice, because in sports, W's means win. So say a lot of win, very on. Yeah.
That's good, man. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our session. Once again, thank you so much, Christopher, and thank you to all of you all. Ladies and gentlemen, wow, what a session. If you really enjoyed the session, let me see some W's. I think Christopher definitely deserves another round of applause. A lot of really solid key takeaways. Even I myself, learned quite a lot from the session. Now, next up, we have our power panel discussion titled Industry Calibration for the New Normal, for the Never Normal, which is also the new normal. In this session, we will be discussing on the how to prepare for your firm for the four shocks for your future work. The first one is systemic risk, second one is robots and automation, third one is employee data, and fourth one is employee power. Our moderator for this power panel discussion leads the Forrester's China and Southeast Asia research teams. His research team advises CMOs, heads of digital, CIOs, and their teams on best practices for digital transformation, customer experiences, and also business innovation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Frederick Giron, Vice President and Research Director of Forrester. And joining him, we have a few distinguished panelists, three of them. Our first panelist is an IT strategist with more than 20 years of experience working in the technology space. He believes that digital transformation is not just about tech, but it's also about people and culture. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Muhammad Suhada, Deputy Chief Information Officer of Bluebird. And our second panelist has more than 20 years of experience handling audit and advisory assignments in Malaysia and UK. She's also a very strong advocate of mentoring. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Pauline Ho, Chief Strategic Operations Officer and Assurance Partner of PwC, and she's also the co-lead of board mentoring of 30% Club Malaysia. Last but not least, our third and final panelist is a seasoned robotic process automation and process automation pre-sales consultant with an extensive experience of RPA, SAP AP, P2P process automation, and business process improvement. Let's all welcome our final panelist, Thomas Gaksyansky, RPA Pre-Sales Manager, UiPath Malaysia. What a lineup. I can't ask for a better lineup to actually discuss on the human capital management and future work. If you have any questions, please type in the chat box, because in this panel session at the end, they are going to take questions from you. So feel free to type in the chat box and they will do their best to answer your questions. All right, Frederick, I'm very sure the audience are very eager to learn from this panel. So over to you.
Thank you, Pauline, Suhada, and Thomas for joining. I think it's going to be a very interesting, very exciting conversation around the future of work. Before I dive into the topic of this panel, I have a couple of burning questions about you and your role. So maybe I will start with Pauline. If you could tell us a little bit about the 30% Club in Malaysia. What is it and what do you do there?
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon. Let me explain a bit about 30% Club. So the Malaysian chapter actually started in 2015. It is a campaign. We are not an organization. And the aim of this campaign is to improve diversity in Malaysia, especially among corporates at the C-suite level and at the board levels. So because it's a business-led campaign, the objective is really to focus on diversity and inclusion. At the beginning, the push is really around gender. Now we have expanded it more and encourage businesses to work together to effect change in the corporate sector. There are three pillars. Activate, where we activate different companies, individuals to progress the change in their area of influence, followed by the second pillar of influence, where we influence not only corporates but also regulators and other organizations that has the ability to effect change across the entire ecosystem. And the third pillar is around enable, and that's where I actually volunteer my time as a co-lead for the board mentoring program. So as part of enable, we are really looking at talent pipeline, to enable there to be talents for you to fill up those positions that we are talking about around C-suites, management level, and also board. So one of our biggest objective around mentoring is to pair up board-ready candidates with experienced board members so that they would be able to network and expand their horizons and potentially be placed on boards as part of that additional exposure.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Pauline. And diversity in inclusion is one of the crucial topics of the future of work, and we'll come back to this very important topic in the next few minutes. Suhada, thank you for joining. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about your role at Bluebird? Maybe some of us don't know what Bluebird is. I think everybody should know. But then and maybe develop in terms of what digital transformation initiatives that are keeping you busy at Bluebird.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Well, Bluebird is one of the largest transportation companies in Indonesia, mostly known with our taxi. And being a taxi company in this digital era means that our competitor is not only the other taxi company, but also a digital company who offers ride-hailing in our country. Means that the only way to survive and keeping our strong position is with digital as well. Many things we have done and many things still progressing in terms of digital transformation. We have equipped all of our taxi fleet with IoT. We developed a brand new dispatching system that is open, so our strategic partners can easily integrate with our service to API. We have also revamped our reservation app to enhance the user experience. So all in all, in summary, like I said, we are now in digital era, so we must use digital to win the competition.
And you need to keep pace with the fast-changing, customer behaviors and the competition as
Absolutely,
well. That needs
absolutely.
to be, yeah. Thanks a lot, Suhada. Thomas, thank you for joining as well. So let's talk a little bit about UiPath. And I think, an increasing number of people are actually familiar with UiPath and RPA, but, and then how does UiPath fits in this future of work according to you?
Well, so I was sent to Malaysia 14 years ago by a Swedish company that specialized in process automation. And when I arrived, I was told to go to meet customers and solve their problems. But then after my first chat with a bunch of customers here in Malaysia, I realized that they didn't perceive any problems or any issues that we were about to solve as their own problems. For example, a person who would spend days over and over just typing and copying data from one place to another place actually first looked at this as a job that needs to be done. So my job with UiPath is actually evangelize and spread the good news of robotic process automation, but at the same time help people understand what can be done, how transformation into or towards a future workspace, how it can be done in an efficient way, responsible way, and in general, how robots and people can work together to make everyone's life a little easier.
Excellent. So I'll definitely come back to that particular point on how does this, couple of humans and robots actually work together in a efficient and psychological safe way for humans, of course. But before we go into these different topics, I wanted maybe to spend a couple of minutes introducing the panel, why we think this is an important dimension, and maybe start with a little bit of going back into the past, maybe let's say 10 years. And just to give you a recap of the past 10 years, since the early 2010s, we've seen many companies, and we were talking about that with Suhada, right, that have put customer experience at the center of their business strategy. And then something interesting happened, right, with many companies starting to realize that employees were a crucial and often underutilized asset. I mean, to your point, Thomas, right? Just copying and pasting data from one system to another is not very, it doesn't hold a very strong purpose, right, for employees, right? And these employees being underutilized asset for meeting these customer needs, they started to also shift about, from just customer experience to also increase their shift around employee experience. And that was, late 2018, 19, 20. And then, of course, COVID happened. And what I find quite fascinating with this tragedy is that it really highlighted some of the shortcomings of our organizations and the vulnerabilities in employee experience, right? And the workforce strategy. And quite frankly, I think a lot of us thought that we had time to address these shortcomings. We had time to address these vulnerabilities. But the problem is that, COVID-19 and this pandemic really laid bare some of the challenges that our organizations are facing. Just to give you a couple of data points that we collected, in the early phases of the pandemic in Singapore, 57% of workers in Singapore believed that their company had a plan for handling the pandemic, right? So less than 2/3 of the workers. Less than half of the workers had confidence in their company's leaders to handle things in the best way possible. And just 53% believed the company would put their well-being first when making decisions, right? So we started these, in this pandemic, in this systemic risk, not in an ideal position. So I think things went much better since then, and organizations had to really change their policies and change their strategy in order to ensure that we are doing we are caring about the employees, and we are caring about the workforce, right? And creating a work environment that is conducive to employee engagement in this remote work environment, right? But it took really the pandemic to lay bare these challenges and these shortcomings. Now, the pandemic, is only one of the 4 shocks that we expect will impact organization in this future work. So the systemic risk, we'll talk about, climate change, potential geopolitical events, robotics and automation. That's definitely something that we'll talk about. The fact that as organizations like Bluebird are digitizing their processes, right, a lot of employee data is going to become recorded within the organization's data centers, and that potentially can lead to additional risks in terms of protecting data privacy and so on and so on. And then the employee power, which is an analogy that we're making with the customer power, right? If you think about the past 10 years, customers now have a lot more power over the institutions, right? And they can, critique and buy from and search for information about the brands, and that gives them, leveraging digital services, and that gives them a lot of power. Similar things is happening from an employee perspective, who have increasingly the power over their employers to better choose which employee they want, which employer they want to work with, basically, right? So we'll discuss in this panel. We'll discuss 4 topics. We'll start with a little bit of a snapshot about hybrid work, and I'd like to see and hear from Pauline, Thomas, and Suhada, where their companies, where in the case of Thomas, also their clients are in terms of deploying hybrid work policies or strategies, perhaps. We'll talk a little bit about employee experience and diversity and inclusion, and of course, we'll go into automation and artificial intelligence as well, and the impact that we expect to be on employees going forward. So let me start by asking you, as leaders, working with your teams, how do you feel? We are hopefully getting out of this crisis, right? And maybe Suhada, you wanna start and see, as a leader, how do you feel, and how do your teams feel today?
How do I feel? Oh, well, I feel relief. Right? I mean, we are in transportation industry. COVID-19 really impacted a lot for us because yeah, obvious. No one going out means that no one take our taxi, right? So with everything, well, going into the well, I won't say normal again. It's a new normal. We have a new process, new procedure when we are going out, and but yeah, I feel relief, and then the business is going better now, and then my team also. I mean, 2+ year to be at home, starting to work again in the office, although it's not full in the office because we are applying the hybrid work. It's really means a lot to us.
And your offices are open again in Jakarta?
Well, our office is never really closed because the operation must go on, and yeah, still people in the office, but my own department, the IT department, we are now going back to the office and do the hybrid work. So it's a bit like 50-50 or 60% in the office and 40% at home.
And is that a policy? I mean, this is something that leadership, said. You need to spend 3 days in the office, and then.
Yeah. So because yeah, again, we are not digital company, right? We are transportation company, and then the operation they need to be in the office all the time, 100%. So yeah, although my team, the IT team, we have the privilege to be at home, but we must respect those in operation. Yeah, we cannot be at home 100%. So the management put some kind of policy that okay, IT team, you can work at home, but yeah, you need to be at the office 60% at least. And I think it's a good idea. It's a good policy because yeah, eventually, well, one thing that I don't like about working from home is the culture is not there. I mean, if you want to force the company culture, if you want to encourage the company culture to the people, to the staff, you must meet them face to face. So I guess hybrid work is the future. Because you have the flexibility to be at home. Your well-being is taken care of as well. But at the same time, you also go to the office and meet people, meet your teammates, meet your boss, and yeah, you can build the team better because yeah, you have the culture there.
That's a very interesting point about the culture. We'll come back to that point later on. But what about your team? Do they feel the same, or would they rather stay at home, or do you have a sense of that?
Well, yeah, to be honest, some people would like to stay at home 100%, but at the end of the day, I think the company's policy need to be respected, and also I think it is better for everyone to be in hybrid work of mode.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Suhara. Pauline, I'm curious. So you're based out of Malaysia, of course. Is there a similar situation in Malaysia with PwC or some of the companies that you work with?
Well, I think if you talk about hybrid work, it's the reality of today. right? It's no longer, last time when we talk about future of work and how work will change, I think we had to adapt and make it the reality very quickly when, it started, the pandemic started, and it affected all the businesses. I think, as you mentioned, in PwC Malaysia as a professional services organization, the key focus for us is how do we continue to service our clients, and deliver whatever that is promised, but at the same time, and very importantly, ensure the health and safety of our people, right? So when it first happened, we, I guess, was in a pretty good position to pivot to a hybrid working arrangement because we have started our flexibility journey many, many years ago. More than 10 years ago, we started with flexible working arrangements. Maybe it was more on an individual basis, and then it became policies that applied across the board. So with the implementation of FlexSpace a couple of years before the pandemic happened, we already have, the ability to work remotely some of the time, not all the time, right? To cater for personal circumstances. I guess if you think about, what are services that we still need people in the office, this is mainly our facilities and support to ensure the administration of the office continues. And that's the one that we actually had to move a bit quicker, right? How do we ensure that our people who used to have, for example, a desktop as opposed to a laptop, right? Within 24 hours, we actually redeploy our resources in such a way that majority of our people who needed a laptop to work remotely were able to do so. I'm not sure whether you're familiar in Malaysia. The announcement came on the 17th, and on 18th we had a full lockdown where we are not allowed to leave the house. And it was originally supposed to be a four-week period, and then it got extended. So within 24 hours, we sort of just changed all our policies, sent everyone home, and whoever needed a laptop, we deploy it so that we can continue working seamlessly from the 18th of March onwards. So I always remember that day because it was a hybrid of activities. But as I said, because we had the policies in place and we do know that our resources are available online already, we would be able to meet most of the commitments to our clients. And of course, within the same period, within the first 24 hours and thereafter, within the week, communicate our clients on, managing the deliverables and how we want to work with them on a virtual basis. Right, so that has actually tied us through. And looking forward now, we have our FlexSpace Reimagined, basically thinking about how do we continue to expand on our existing policies to ensure that we meet some of the critical requirements of things that Suhada said, right? We still need to ensure that there is a culture of PwC. People know, right? In the past 18 months or so, we have employees who have joined us, never been to the office, right? We have new clients or even existing clients with people changes that you have only met virtually. How do you build relationship without having the interaction that is more face to face? You know how it is virtual, you get to see the little box of us now, right? And it's very different when you meet a person and you see the body language and you get to know an individual much better. So, in the consideration of whether a person can work 100% remotely or is a mixture of some work remote, some days where you work in a client's location or in the office, or do you need to be 100% in the office? That consideration includes how do we ensure that we continue to service our client, the culture and relationship, team building, all that is maintained. So all those considerations are being put in place. So in just some examples before I wrap up, in PwC US, for instance, they are one of those who actually started in this profession to say that even client service staff can work 100% remotely in your location of choice. So that was quite a big move for them, and they will try to make it happen. But even with remote working, they acknowledge that maybe a couple of days a month you should come back to the office so that you can still get to know people, bond and build relationships. So I think that part is very important because you have to ensure that all these human interactions are not removed just because you're working remotely.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, Pauline. Thank you so much for highlighting this point around the distance, right? It's not just the physical distance. There's an operational dimension, and then there's a relationship distance as well. But part of me is also thinking that, you know, we have been in that situation for almost 2 years now, and you know, we've done a pretty good job at it, right? It's not ideal, and I think a lot of us want to be coming back to the office in order to have these interactions. But I have to say that, you know, if we needed a proof point that working, collaborating, continuing to build a culture, an innovation culture, collaborating culture, even from remote location, we proved it, right? It worked, you know, for a lot of companies over the past almost 2 years now. I'll come back to the point about, you know, the importance of the office, you know, to drive collaboration, to drive innovation in a minute. But I wanted to shift to Thomas as well, and from your point of view, Thomas, how do you see hybrid work playing out for you and for some of your clients?
Well, you see, first of all, coronavirus pandemics affected a lot of people around the world in an extremely negative way. But I'm actually happy to see we're coming out of it with a lot of lessons that a lot of people were forced to learn. So in the past, employers were a little, let's say, not so fast at finding ways how to enable hybrid work. And then, like Pauline mentioned, well, snap, and suddenly everyone needs a laptop, right? So a lot of these lessons that were forced upon employers will eventually pay back. Let me give you an example. One of the concerns employers have when they have their workforce work from home is, how do they ensure that this work is actually happening? How do you make sure that the employee is doing what he's supposed to do? Well, you can build monitoring tools. You can try to set up millions of KPIs and things like that. But what is the best way? Think about it. Best way to make sure that someone is doing his work is actually to have this person do what they like to do. If I put you in front of a computer and I ask you to do the same thing over and over and over, copying, I'm going to be using this example a few times, copying and pasting data from one place to another, you know, we humans, we're not wired this way to keep doing this. You know, we will lose the sense of belonging, we'll lose motivation, we will simply burn out. But if I hand over a lot of this manual, repetitive, boring, demotivating work to a robot, and I'm then assigned to something more challenging, something that involves really problem solving, thinking, coming up with new ideas, how to address specific issues, strategizing, I'll probably see a lot more commitment and engagement from my employee side, right? So this simple, the changing what you expect from your employees, what kind of work you want them to do, can simply make hybrid work as efficient as if they would work from your office where you can have their eyes open. At the same time, a lot of technical problems had to be solved, like Sarah mentioned, and things like legal restrictions. A lot of companies simply wouldn't be allowed to take their data, personal data, patient data, banking data, out to their employees' desktops placed at home, where they can have, you know, third parties easily picking over their shoulder, right? So again, this is where robots step in, because robots can do majority of the data processing, and then only, for example, mask the sensitive data in case of problem, in case of challenge, exposed the minimum of information that is necessary to employee to make the right decision, to approve, to review, and then have him, you know, deliver this from home. So this really unhappy or unfavorable situation with coronavirus has actually proven us that hybrid work is a future that is possible, achievable, doable, and it not only benefits the employers, but it also benefits the employees who will end up on the other side of the VPN or internet at home. Of course, there's still a problem to solve, if you have a bunch of crying kids at home, but this is where UiPath doesn't really venture into yet.
Yeah. The rugrat problem needs to be handled. That's for sure. Thanks a lot, Thomas. One thing you said about employee happiness, right, and the fact that a lot of the information workers that we enable with technology and that we supposed to be serving with our policies, they do their best job when they are creative, right? When they are thinking about new solution, when they are solving problems, right? And that makes me think, on how we can then focus on employee experience, right? Because at the core of this employee experience concept is this idea again about creating a work environment that is conducive to making progress, right? Finding new solutions, making progress against some of the clear objectives that you have set for yourself or set for your team, right? And because again, at the core, if the biggest predictor for employee engagement is productivity. If I'm productive as an employee, right? If I'm able to make progress against these specific objectives, then I'm fully engaged and I'm willing to bring my best to work. And that's really what sits at the core of employee experience. So I'm curious, Suhara, Thomas, Pauline, how do you see employee experience? Is that something that is important within your own organization? Is that something that you have started maybe measuring? Are you looking at ways to better enable your employees as well in order to make them more engaged? Because that's critical. I mean, that's really crucial in this hybrid work environment to keep the employees motivated, engaged, and productive and happy. To your point, Thomas. So, Hada, you wanna start maybe?
Yeah, sure, Frederick. Well, what you said, you said it best already. I mean, I fully agree with you. Your staff is your number one customer. Happy staff will do their best and then be more productive, which eventually bring more profit to the company. So, employee experience is important. Their feeling and then their perceive is matter, and this happiness is not only about paycheck. Well, I must admit it is important, but still, it's not everything. Staff now they are looking for flexibilities. They are looking at well-being at work. They are looking at digital tools that can help them to perform at their work, and they are looking for many other things. And in our case, in Bluebird, we are not only taking care of the employee experience, but we need to also take care of our driver experience. Since driver is our frontliners, they are the one that serve our customer, and they are the one that can create the perception of our customers toward our brand. So as the head of technology. I'm playing a big part of driving this employee experience transformation along with our HR and the other management. So because technology means to make staff life easier, things like collaboration tools, automation, a user-friendly system. This definitely will help them with their productivity. I can give you, example. Before online workspace, staff make slides like 5 megabyte slides and send it over to the boss by email. The boss review it, reply the email with some comments, and ask the staff to revise the slides again. This can go back and forth for several times. It's time-consuming, waste of internet bandwidth. But now with online workspace, you can work together, creating documents, like slides, spreadsheet. You can do it together on the same time on the same place. Online space without having to email the slides with big attachment flying around. So the similar things goes with our drivers. We need to ensure that technology can help them with their operation. We equip them with driver app, that can help them manage their orders. They can also do queries to the central operation. They can do many things like suggest schedules and a lot of other things. Technology for sure can drive the employee experience, but technology itself cannot win the employee. So there is a need to have some kind of holistic strategy in my opinion, to make this transformation of employee experience to be successful. But yes, technology play a vital role here.
That's really interesting. There's a couple of things that I really like about what you said. First of all, that the drivers embody the brand experience, right? And that also will reflect on the customer experience, which I think is really well said. The other thing, what you just mentioned about driving a qualitative employee experience is not just about the technology; it's also about the strategy that you need to put in place. Can you elaborate a little bit on that in terms of, are you thinking about maybe gamification? It's really about how do you drive the adoption of these tools, right? In terms of incentives, or anything that you can share on this?
Correct. So in my opinion, when you want to transform the employee experience, you need to have a holistic strategy. You need to work with your HR, the other management. What is the best for our employee? How to make them happy? Like I said, paycheck is not the only thing. Maybe they want, like, for example, Instagrammable working space, just for example. Maybe flexible working hours. But yeah, for sure, technology can also support them in this area. But again, we need to combine all this strategy into one holistic strategy. That's what I'm saying.
Excellent. And that's also a good way to attract new talent and to retain the existing
Correct.
one, I guess, right? Pauline, do you agree on what Suhada said around employee experience?
Yeah, a lot of the points that Suhada has mentioned is really encapsulated on how we look at employee experience. We have a framework because at the end of the day, if there are no people, there's no PwC, right? Yeah. Because that's what we do. So in driving employee experience, we have a people value proposition that we call GROW. GROW is an acronym for growth, recognition, opportunities, and ways of working, GROW. So I'll just briefly cover each of them. So for growth is about learning and development, not only classroom training, but development in the sense, for example, when we started our digitization initiative called Future Skills, we focus not only in terms of digital skills, but also human skills, because we believe they complement each other, right? So other than teaching our people UiPath, for instance, we also talk about, giving protected time for who we call digital accelerators to go and work together as a team, brainstorm solutions that we can help them do their work faster, better, or solutions that we can actually bring to market. So after they have brainstormed and worked together as a team using technology, they will pitch like a Shark Tank to the leadership. And if it is successful, they will then get more time and resources to be able to then implement it, for a wider audience. So that's an example of how, we allow people to grow and develop during the process of, increasing our digital acumen. The second one, in terms of recognition, Suada mentioned about, salary is one thing. That to me is a hygiene factor, is a foundation. Recognition goes beyond that. And one of the ways that we provide recognition is we use a platform called Flex Points, where we want our people to be able to give instant recognition to people, to others who have done something well. So we map that to our PwC values. So for example, somebody who has shown care to me, I can actually give the person either a badge or some points that they can then convert to vouchers or purchase items, right? To say, thank you for showing me care and leaving a nice message that they can also publish on the FlexPoint app so everyone can read through, right? So we do leverage technology for recognition as well. The third one on opportunities is about doing meaningful and purposeful work, right? Aligned to our purpose, which is to build trust in society and solve important problems. So some example of linking our daily work to meaningful or purposeful work is around, for example, we are talking a lot about ESG nowadays. Some of our assurance people are actually helping clients to assure the data when they talk about, I have only emission of 3,000 tons of carbon a year, right? What are the processes and controls do they have in place to ensure that what they are reporting to the public is actually, accurate representation or fair representation of what, is the actual emission. So these are some examples of opportunities. There are opportunities for work cross-border as well that we have given to our people. And the final one on ways of working, we talked about Flex Place already earlier, but other ways of working include growth teaming and well-being pact, where we actually at the beginning of each project, the teams will talk about how they would like to work with each other, right? They set team calendars. They have agreement on, there are certain days that I would like to go off on time or want to take a block time off in order to do something to enable me to balance my commitments, both at work and at home, right? So those are the things that they agree. We do not email each other at certain hours of the day, right? So that I can really focus on, because, nowadays we are on 24/7, right? To be honest, all of us are in front of the computer. We can work nonstop if we so choose. But there are times that I just want to sit quietly and reflect on what I have done for the day, or document the stuff that I want to document after having a lot of conversations during the day. So you can actually block your time for that as well. So whichever way that works best to help you be productive is the agreement that is set up front. Right, so these are just some of the examples that we want to have in order for us to continue to be an employer of choice to attract and retain our people.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Pauline. That was awesome. really exhaustive. I love the GROW acronym. Just a quick reminder for our audience, dear audience members, if you want to ask questions, feel free to use the chat, the Q&A tool on the platform, and we'll take the questions as they come. Pauline, just to go back to this acronym GROW, the second point, recognition. How do you keep on providing regular feedback to your teams across the organization? That's probably one of the most important dimension for me. In our research, we show that the biggest predictor of employee burnout, which is the opposite of employee engagement, right, is lack of recognition. Right, so making sure that, especially in a remote work, hybrid work environment where people are far away from the office, having this continuous feedback, being able to continually, provide, the constructive, feedback, or the recognition as well. That's absolutely fundamental, absolutely crucial. Thomas, I want to stay in employee experience, but going to your core area of automation and artificial intelligence, and typically, usually, I don't really agree with everything that is written, but automation has bad press in terms of employee experience, right? Because potentially it creates a lot of anxiety, right? which goes against this idea of psychological safety that I was talking about, in the beginning. How do your clients approach this psychological safety as they roll out, as they implement automation strategies?
See, this is very important because, people are still very much involved in every change that happens inside the organization, right? And if people are underinformed, if people are not taken into consideration when change happens, people tend to get scared. People tend to start blocking these initiatives. And sometimes, actually, the automation, the whole objective of it, the way how it's supposed to be implemented, this just needs to be properly understood by people, by employees. And usually this kind of activity, when we create a lot of awareness, we show them that they are in the center of this change, not, let's say, a victim of this change. It's very, very important for the success of the project. So we have done a couple of things. First of all, we try to help people understand how will the work change when robots get involved, right? So this open dialogue, open explanation, and it's just the beginning of a great process. But at the same time, one of the most commonly repeated slogan is that automation will replace people. Well, I've heard this when typewriter was discovered. I've heard this when steam engine was introduced. And suddenly, after steam engines kind of disappearing from our reality, we have more people employed than ever before, right? So job and work, it doesn't disappear. It changes. So if you, as an employee, can change along, you're enabled, you're empowered, you're given the tools, you're receiving your company's investment and support, you can change and literally future-proof your employment. So with UiPath, we have really gone big on what we call democratization of robotic process automation. We want everyone to experience RPA and have access to RPA and learn about RPA and use RPA pretty much the same way as they use Microsoft Excel. Excel used to be actually considered a scary application for accountants and people doing tabs, right?
Yeah.
So now you have every computer almost with Excel installed. If someone needs to add two numbers, people, instead of starting calculator, they will open an Excel sheet and will try to add these two numbers there, which is a little sad, but yeah, it's the reality, right? So the thing is that simply, instead of having them fear the application, people get used to it, people get trained, people embraced it, and eventually got a new skill that made them better employees, offering greater value to their employees. So with UiPath, you can, for example, sign up to our academy. You can learn how to build robots, how to create automations, how to become an RP developer completely free of charge. You can simply get a new skill that now is very sought after. We'll offer you free software. You can download the entire platform and start using it free of charge for your personal educational use. We have enabled our customers. We have prepared programs for them to create new kind of positions by converting the existing employees, those that have a little bit outdated skills, even automation footprint, into some new useful skills away. So the social responsibility simply is translated into taking care of your employee, and instead of letting him fall behind, letting him catch up with the reality, or even go ahead by, like I said, getting a job at let's say, positions that 10 years ago didn't exist.
Yeah, which I guess begs the question whether people are willing to change, right? Because I agree with your point. Is the pace of change is only accelerating, but that means basically that people need to be able to unlearn and relearn new new skills, new talents, and that's not something that is maybe easy for most employees, most people to grasp. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts, Pauline or Suhada, on how to comfort employees that they can do that, right? They can learn new skills. They can grow, to your point, Pauline.
Yeah. So I think an example that we had was we rolled out this digital fitness assessment app, DFA we call it for short, with a view of getting everyone on board to start small, to understand technology and feel more comfortable talking about it as a starting point, right? So it's an app that's available to everyone, and then to also role model. We had our directors and partners pursue it as a KPI. You know how it is, right? Like for senior people, once you give a KPI, they will chase it to the end. So it is a weekly dose of a couple of hours of reading, and then there is a small little assessment at the end that encourages you to talk about it and to take a lead in either bringing that conversation to the clients or to your people, right? So over a period of 1 year, I actually managed to improve my digital knowledge, at least to be able to speak about it and understand what is robotic process automation, augmented reality, and all that through that process, right? So once you can see and share this experience with others, then I think that is one area where you can sort of try and lead by walking the talk. The other way is, as I shared just now briefly about the digital accelerators. These are people who started with, let me do some YouTube learning, and then think about some ideas, and then go and pitch, right? And then after that, they go through more formal learning to help them. So when these people also share their stories on how they go about actually being able to learn and adapt quite quickly and help them, more importantly, what's the outcome? I actually do not need to cut and paste from one spreadsheet to another anymore. Things that, for example, our exams team used to collate, all the exam results for people because, a lot of people in PwC will pursue professional qualifications. So, having to type in all the various spreadsheets, but what they did was they designed a process where, the process will pick up from all the different sources of data and then collate into one dashboard that everyone can see, right? So when somebody does this, then somebody else from the team sees that, oh, actually it's not so difficult. Then it will encourage others to do so. And then we have small little lunch and learn sessions where we share the gospel, so to speak, right? This is how you go about doing it. This is how it has helped me. And then it encourages others. So you start a movement where there will be more and more people being interested. Right. So I think that is one way of getting it citizen-led, as I mentioned, instead of having it being driven down. You have to do this, otherwise you don't have a job.
Yeah, it needs to start from the grassroots level, right? You need to be able to create almost a viral, virality type of movement in order to spread this knowledge-seeking mindset, I think. So had from a Bluebird perspective, do you also have training or education opportunities that you offer to your employees?
Yeah, so we have this one before. So the IT team collaborate with the marketing team. So we have this kind of digital adoption training to the staff, to the operation staff, for example, to the finance staff, because some of the staff is not really digital savvy. So we really need to show them that hey, this is digital era. Maybe start with the small one. Do you know the social media? Do you use it? And then also there is this Google. You can find anything in Google. Even on that fundamental things, sometimes we need to start with the fundamental, what I'm saying. And I'm also interested with your statement, Fred, about the unlearn and relearn, right? So in my opinion, one of the things that we can do is words of encouragement. I mean, hey, look, your task now is being replaced by the bots, but I do have this more complex task that I think you can do it, and if you can do this more complex task, it's the way for you to to be promoted, for example, or this is your path to be to the next level, something like that. So yeah, I think it's one of the things that we can use as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, trying to portray what are maybe the more fulfilling position, right? To back to what Thomas was saying earlier. I wanted to ask a couple of questions from the audience, and there's a very interesting one from the audience about one very important topic that we haven't touched upon right now, which is diversity and inclusion. And I think this one is for Pauline, right? So in terms of the current percentage of women on the board of Malaysian organizations, and how quickly is this changing? I mean, how the 30% club is working to make that change happen and create a more diverse situation within the board of Malaysian companies.
Well, since 2015, maybe that's a good point to start when the Malaysian chapter started. At the top 100 Bursa companies level, the percentage at that point was 14% women representation on boards. And for the entire stock exchange, it was 10.7%, right? So now in 2021 July, we have 25.5% at the top 100, but 17% only at the entire stock exchange. So obviously there is some room to grow. The top 100, I guess, is a much better reflection, moving from 14 to 25.5. But we still have 4 companies with 0 women on board. So what we are hoping is that with the encouragement of the Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance 2021, which was revised in April of this year, which sort of encourages company to have 30% female representation on board, will help us achieve that agenda. Because there is enough studies out there, I won't repeat them, about how you actually make better decisions when you have diversity on boards. Not only in terms of gender, it's any kind of diversity. So that's why we are a strong believer in pushing for diversity. And as I mentioned, we have the various pillars to help companies meet the target if they so wish.
Well, that's an impressive growth, from 14% to 25, more than 25%, and you only have like 4 companies out of 100.
Yes,
without any female on the board.
But by way Malaysia as well, Fred, that we are the best in ASEAN in terms of female representation. Yeah.
Excellent. By when? What's your goal? But which date do you think you can reach the 30%?
Well, we hope top 100 by next year.
Next year.
Yeah, awesome. We hope. It is really within the control of the companies in the top 100, not within the control of us. But we will do what we can to support that agenda.
So the campaign is still going strong, which is great. Thomas, maybe last question as a wrap up, because we have just I guess 3 minutes before we need to wrap up. We are talking about the skills of the future, and the fact that we need to think about how we need to prepare for these skills. What are the skills, workforce of the future, that we'll have to develop to stay relevant in this high performance culture workplace?
Well, think about it this way. Working with your hands is a thing of the past. If your job really is about clicking and typing all day long without much of the brain processing between those actions, this is something that will be going away, will be disappearing in the past. So what I'm saying here is, well, you don't have to get a PhD in strategy or problem solving, but you probably already have all these skills. You have a skill of critical thinking. You have a skill of, you have experience that you can tap into. So now just try to make a better use. Try to really figure out where your strengths are, when your weaknesses are. If you believe that you're really good strategist, well, try to position yourself in this, try to go towards this direction. If you believe that, well, you have a little bit of technical skills, but you have never really explored them before, then again, take a look at most sought after positions that are sought after right now. So just to give you an example, you see, people are so concerned that, oh, if I want to become an RPA developer, do I have to be like technical, need some programming, databases, and on and on? And my answer is, if you know how to use Excel, and if you can explain your process step by step by step, say, click here, go this, do this, and then you have 90% skills that you need. Another 10% skills you will get through UiPath Academy. So probably the first thing is a little bit of courage. Show a little bit of courage, show a little bit trust in yourself. You are way more than you believe. You represent yourself, and just reassess, get the right tools, get the right mentoring, and you most likely have the skills that are needed in the future workforce already.
That's it. That's very very well put. I think it's really about being poised. We talked about being poised, enlightened, having this sense of purpose, and to go back to what Pauline was saying, and Suhada as well, knowledge seeking, right? So being able to continuously seek new knowledge and grow as an individual. I think we've reached the end of this session. Thank you so much, Pauline, Suhada, and Thomas, for enlightening us with your experiences, respectively. And it's been a fantastic discussion. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Frederick, Suhada, Pauline, and Thomas, for that very engaging and insightful discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause to our moderator and panelists? Let's see some W's in the chat box. It is a great honor for us to have all of you all powering the summit program. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you have enjoyed the industry panel discussion of the future of work and tech for good track. As I've mentioned earlier, we did say we are giving out a total of 15 cool gadgets worth 4,000 ringgit in total this summit. And here's actually the last chance. Yes, you heard it right. This is the last chance for you to win any of these 3 gadgets which you see on the screen right now. The Sony True Wireless Earbuds, Samsung Wireless Charger Pad, Sony Portable Wireless Speaker. So if you actually want to win any of these prizes, all you got to do is actually complete a short survey. And how do you complete the short survey? It is by scanning the QR code, which you will see on the screen. If you have issues scanning the QR code, you can also type in the URL that you see in the blue box. We truly appreciate your feedback, your honest feedback, as it is very important for us to keep providing you with better event experience. Again, just a gentle reminder, if you actually want to win any of these prizes, all you got to do is scan the QR code and complete the short survey. And who knows, you might walk away with one of these prizes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our session, and please accept our sincere apologies if we have actually caused you any inconveniences in the last 2 days. Do share your feedback in the survey, and we will actually read all of your feedbacks, and we will take them and see how we can improve our event experience. Most importantly, we hope that you have truly benefited from this summit and you're taking away valuable and actionable insights to start recalibrating your business transformation journey in the digital reality of 2022. As we all embrace the endemic phase of COVID-19, we wish nothing but much better outlook and opportunities, as well as greater resilience for all of us to thrive and win in the age of the never normal. Before I sign off, on behalf of the Star Media Group, I'd like to extend our sincerest gratitude to all of our 35 speakers and 19 sponsors and partners for your kind collaboration with us in making StarBiz Summit 2021 a major success. How about a round of applause to all our speakers, sponsors, and partners? Let's see some W's in the chat box. We are definitely looking forward to welcome you again next year in Star Media Group's Digital X Data event in 2022. Perhaps in a much better circumstance where we can actually engage safely with each other in person. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a physical event. Fingers crossed. Remember to visit our sponsors and partners' virtual booth in Jublia to find out about the latest product offerings. And if you need any assistance from us, do remember you can always email us at events@thestar.com.my. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Gajan Nath. It has been a great honor to be your host at this event. Until we meet again, stay safe, be innovative, and keep disrupting. Thank you so much and have a nice day.
You've heard it before. The connected age. Life at the speed of the internet. It's a digital world. What you might not have heard is that we can keep it safe. Because at CrowdStrike, we stop breaches. So wherever you go, go with confidence. Anywhere. Welcome to Anywhere. CrowdStrike. We stop breaches.
always knew you'd be in for a ride. There'd be ups, downs, twists, and unexpected turns. It would be an exciting journey, even a little scary at times. And although it's difficult to predict what's around every corner, there's something else you understood. Transformation is essential for your business, your people, and your customers, so you can stay agile, resilient, and relevant in an ever-shifting marketplace. At SAP, we understand that true transformation is a journey too. It goes beyond the edges and deep into the core of your business. But it's a journey you don't have to take alone. No matter where you're starting from and where you want to go, we're by your side to simplify planning and execution and integrate data, intelligent tech, with cutting-edge ERP that will accelerate outcomes on your terms and on your timelines. The road ahead is clear. The next turn truly transformative. It's your time to rise with SAP.
Welcome to the future. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Here we are making history. Higher than we've ever been. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready, get ready. Welcome to the future.
This is the new world of work. Each day looks different than the last. But whatever work becomes, the ServiceNow platform will make it just flow. Whether it's finding new ways to help you serve your customers, orchestrating a safe return to the office,
Wait, an office? What's an office?
or solving a workplace challenge that's yet to come. Wherever the new world of work takes your business, the world works with ServiceNow.
So I say the word innovation and you immediately think, the pulley. Wait, what? Stay with me. Let's go back to around 25 BC. Archimedes of Syracuse. Major big brain dude. He had this incredible idea. Here's how his buddy Plutarch reported it. He said Archimedes moved an entire warship using pulleys and his own strength. That is innovation. Not 2.0 or an upgrade or the next generation, but something that changes the way we think and work and live. The heralded breakthroughs have more often than not merely walked to the edge of innovation. The cloud and AI and low code. Complex problems can only be solved by solutions that don't cause more problems. So what would Archimedes do today? He'd build a pulley and call it robotic process automation. Make the tech learn the human, name the task, name the workplace. RPA allows companies to automate at the UI level, connecting disparate technologies. Granted, that's a really wonky sentence. All it means is this: you and your employees can now pull vastly more than your own weight.